Hi, guys, and welcome back to RT Share Tea, where respiratory therapists live out loud with me, your host, Linda Fry, the Asthma Lady. Okay, so what we talked about last week was in the spirit of spring, we spoke about spring cleaning and decluttering. So today we're gonna piggyback off spring cleaning and start to talk about dusting as a to follow up on what we did last week. So think of this as a series of topics to cover in relations to triggers in the home, asthma triggers in the home, and how to remediate them or how to guide someone towards remediation. Okay? So, but before we start that, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are here every Thursday, and we are on Google Podcasts, every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Right, guys? And remember, we are growing together. Okay? So, yes, thank you so much. All right. So, to go into the topic of dusting. Okay, so know that when you work with asthma patients, you need to let them know that not all asthma patients have the same triggers. Okay, so a lot of them may have relatives or friends or whatever who have asthma and who they see asthma flare up to other in response to other things like smoke, pollen, exercise. So where you start when it comes to identifying triggers is you let them know that everyone does not have the same asthma triggers. All right, so it is not a one size fit all because this tends to confuse some folk. Okay, so we start from there. So when we are talking about, I like to talk about triggers in the home because this is an easy place to control. We cannot control the weather. We cannot control how bad pollen season is this year. We cannot control climate change and all these things happening with Mother Nature, but you can control what's happening in your home for the most part. All right? So, when we talk about something like dust, if someone has an asthma trigger that is dust related, there are things that you can tell them to help them remediate or handle these situations at home. Now, avoiding dust in the home is not easy. Understand that dust comes from us. It comes from whoever's coming in your home. So dust comes from the outside, you're tracking it in your shoes, it comes from your clothes, it's coming from the skin. Okay? So we have dust mites. Now you may see dust mites or heard of it on in commercials or whatnot, but dust mites are tiny microscopic bugs, you could say, or pests that literally like eat skin cells, which it sounds gross, but it's like that's what it is. It's like you cannot see them, and I believe they said like they come from like they're like the relatives of ticks or like spiders or whatever, but they're super small. Okay, so these dust mites, they live in warm environments and wherever skin cells are shed a lot. So think of like your bed, your linen. All right, so think of your sheets, your pillows, your mattress. So they love these things. They love carpet, upholstery, curtains. So think about these things. So when someone has really bad asthma, that's why we tend to ask them like what's going on in the home, and we like to ask things like, okay, do you have carpet or not, or what kind of fabrics do you have on your furniture, because know that dust attaches to these fabrics, right? And so what we tell folks is that have dust as a trigger in the home, we tell them to try to dust at least once a week, which we know is not easy for someone that has kids and a crazy work schedule, but it's you have to work on removing the dust often, especially wherever the person that have asthma, where they mainly occupy, right? So you want to try to vacuum with a HEPA filter, and we give this advice a lot. Now, the only thing is when you give this type of advice is you have to think about social economical issues. So when you have patients who have like, issues with employment, and they live in poverty or any of these things, it's hard to suggest to somebody to go buy a vacuum with a HEPA filter. The average HEPA filter vacuum on Amazon costs like well over $100. So I will say, be sensitive to folks when you suggest things like this, because it's not easy to just up and go get a a good vacuum with the HEPA filter. So yes, so what I'll tell folk is for the easier spots is get a used socks, get a pair of used socks, and put olive oil on it, or you can use baby oil, right, on the sock, and start to take the sock and go through your blinds. You could do your baseboard, go according to the wall and start from there. And you will see how much dust you pick up. And I love to say, like, you could go to Target and buy one of those dust busters. Those things cost like $7 for a box of maybe I think four or something. But the sock with the olive oil or the baby oil is mainly free 99. Okay, most likely it won't cost you anything because it's in your house already. So these are tips that I like to give to patients, because it's easy and it's already in the house. Okay, so you wanna not give additional barriers to removing these things, right? So in regards to dust, we wanna really try to encourage folks to be as proactive as possible. Now, when you talk about kids, you got to talk about the toys. So think about stuffed animals, right? So a lot of folk do not realize that these things attract dust like crazy. So can you imagine you have your kid who has his favorite, I don't know, Mickey Mouse or Elmo or whatever in the bed with them, and they have asthma, and this thing is just attracting all of this dust. So a lot of folks don't know that, so we tell them do not have this on the bed, especially when it comes to pediatrics. And you can tell the parent, put the stuffed animal in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer for 5 hours or overnight or whatever, and that will help with the dust and the dust mites attaching to the stuffed animal. And it sounds weird, but think about it. Like I said, dust mites, they love warm environment. So if you make it cold and you freeze it, I mean, maybe the kid won't want to be around the stuffed animal either, but it is a tip. Okay, so they can do that, and hopefully the kid will still enjoy the stuffed animal. But those things attract dust. If you can please, let your patients know if they could remove the carpet. Once again, this is a social economical thing. It's not easy to tell somebody to just rip up all the carpet in their house, right? But if it's something that they can remove, it is best and easier just to remove the carpet. They can have a small, I'm for the area rug. I love my little area rug, to transition the room and whatnot, but you got to vacuum the rug, okay? Especially if you have pets. But pets will be another episode for in this series of spring cleaning. But we do have that, the olive oil or the baby oil with the sock, and the dealing with the stuffed animals. I'm sorry. So yes, so we highly encourage folk to go down this path, because once again, these are things that can be controlled. All right. So guys, I hope that I was able to help somebody here today with a new tip that they can give to their patient, or even for yourself. If you just like, oh wow, let me try that. You know what I'm saying? It is spring and you want to air out your house. You can start from there. All right. Know that you do not have to go and buy these expensive, fancy stuff. You could literally start from things that you have at home. All right, guys. So thank you so much for listening. I hope I was able to help you today. And please remember once again to like, share, and subscribe to us on YouTube, on Google Podcasts. We are here every Wednesday on Google Podcasts and every Thursday on YouTube, 6 p.m. Okay, guys. So, and remember to invest in yourself and to only compete with yesterday's version of you. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.